Panasonic, the heart of your system.
I'm Neil Walder for KitGuru. I'm here with Sascha from Asus. Sascha, who are you? What do you do?
Right, you might remember me from a video a few months ago, also here on KitGuru. I'm Senior Global Technical Marketing Manager and at the ROG Gaming Laptop team. And I'm here to show you some new laptops again.
Right, now here's the thing. We're doing this in December. CES starts on the 6th of January. This is a thing in anticipation of CES, so this is products that are going to be announced at CES, but we have to get the content ready because I'm going to be in blooming America. So that's what we're doing. A few details may change between now and then, hopefully not too many. And Sascha's going to be a little bit coy about certain details. We're going to have to cut in some slack. Having said all that, you've got two laptops here. What are they? Which one do you want to start with?
I'll start with this one. That's a nice reference point. I brought this one with me because last time that's what we showed you guys.
Yep.
It's the Zephyrus S, slimmest gaming laptop in the world, 14.9 millimeters, and yeah, slimmest gaming laptops in the world.
And the significant thing with Zephyrus was that was not quite the reference. It was the first laptop we saw with Nvidia MaxQ.
Right, right. And it's also where we introduced our AAS technology.
Which is a very posh way of saying airflow.
Airflow, right. Active aerodynamic system. So when you open up the laptop, it lifts off from the bottom.
Yep.
Keyboard is a bit in a better angle, and you have much more airflow going through here.
Okay, so this laptop KitGuru has reviewed.
Right. You guys reviewed it. I hope you liked it.
Yeah, I had to cast my mind back because it's now so long ago, but yes, I did is the short answer. It's your emphasis. I struggle with this. We've had conversation before this video. In fact, we've had lunch. But the emphasis on the thin chassis. Personally, I'm not so worried about the extra 0.1, 0.2 millimeters. On the other hand, companies, the thinnest ever, it's a big, big issue for companies such as Asus. And personally, I think it's typified by this rise up so the air can flow thing, because putting some feet under it wouldn't be quite the same. Whereas that is an engineer's way around how do you make it really thin but still work. It's a slightly complicated way of putting some rubber feet on the bottom, essentially.
Yeah, well, I mean, what you want is you want it to be as slim as possible when you carry it around and when you slide it into your backpack or
Yep.
pocket. But when you open it up, ideally you want the best performance. And that's where, you know, we came up with the double hinge design,
Yep.
AAS, to have extra airflow and it opening up and sucking in air from the top and from the bottom to exhaust in all four directions.
One of the points of conversation we've had before we did this video is the emphasis that companies such as Asus put on the thickness or thinness of laptops. To myself, I'm not bothered whether a laptop is 0.1, 0.2 millimeters thinner than another laptop. I'm interested in things like how it feels in your hands, how much it weighs. However, companies such as Asus are deeply interested in world's thinnest, world's smallest bezel. It matters a great deal. So, this business about form factor.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, we're not the only ones that try to do it. I mean, there's other makers out there. Essentially, everybody's trying to make the slimmest gaming laptop in the world. The point is just that we've succeeded, and we've beat them to the game, basically.
So it doesn't matter as long as we win.
No, well, no, that's not the key point. That's not why we're doing it. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're doing it, but the key reason is we have a lot of different teams internally. So there's people working on the keyboard, on the display, on the chassis, on the motherboard, and you kind of have to give them all a direction and a goal, and you have to make sure they all work in the same direction on something that, you know, cohesively can then be put into one product and make sense. So the easiest way to do that, and the most important way to do that, is to give them a clear direction. And for us, that was going for the slimmest gaming laptop in the world. And as you'll see, that didn't just allow us to make the slimmest gaming laptop in the world. By doing that, you basically set a target to everybody. Your part now has to be thinner. Your part also has to be thinner. Everybody has to cut down on thickness. So essentially, everybody has to think outside of the box. How can they still meet their requirements? How can they still have this much thermal capability, this much performance within a slimmer form factor? So you're kind of pushing everybody.
And harking back to our conversation earlier, the battery in this Zephyrus is what rating?
Around 50 watt hours.
And if the laptop was a few millimeters thicker, and if the battery capacity could be pushed up to 70, 90 watt hours, which to my view is that to many, I'm not going to say most users, to many users, I personally think a few millimeters extra on thickness and a significant increase in battery capacity, personally, I think that'd be a blooming good thing.
Okay, that's very good feedback to hear. And it's not like we're not doing that as well.
Right.
So we don't just have one laptop. For this one, the focus is to be the slimmest in the world, and it's kind of pushing us to push components to the limit as well.
Okay.
And we've succeeded with that, and also now are transferring that knowledge and that technology to other models, which we'll talk about later. Yeah.
Okay, so that's that Zephyrus that we've previously reviewed. What's this?
This is the GX701 Zephyrus S. So this is the slimmest 15-inch gaming laptop. Yep. This is the slimmest 17-inch gaming laptop.
Okay. Now, Zephyrus, also Nvidia MaxQ.
Correct.
Is there anything else you can say in that department whatsoever without being in deep trouble?
I'm not even sure if I was supposed to say that.
Right. Okay, so moving on swiftly. Talk us through this laptop.
Well, what I can tell you is obviously 17-inch. What I think is really cool about it is the original Zephyrus, the GX501, was a 15-inch laptop, and it pretty much had the same form factor as this.
Right.
So now you're getting almost the same form factor and a 17-inch screen.
Okay, should we open them up and turn them around? Or
right.
Gonna...
Let's go ahead and do that. So here we go with the GX501 Zephyrus S, and here we are with the GX701 Zephyrus S. So... and as you can see right away, the big difference, there's now a volume wheel. And this volume wheel, I'm a big fan of it personally, allows us to have volume control and mute. Instead of having 3 hotkeys, we have very limited space in the Zephyrus lineup. We can now have all those 3 functions in just a single volume wheel. And we developed that, it's a custom part, so we're pretty proud of that.
Okay, we were having a conversation about webcams, and that conversation went on for quite some time, which might sound bizarre, but fundamentally the 15-inch has a webcam and the 17 does not.
Correct.
And then I think we went on for another 15 minutes about that. Talk to us about webcams.
So, for this one, you can see we have the webcam at the top.
Which is rated at?
720p and 30 FPS.
Right.
It's a standard, nice webcam. Better than some of our competitors, but it's a pretty basic webcam.
Yep.
But we noticed that a lot of people have stickers on the webcam, and
for
privacy reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of now? Do we think this is paranoia, or do we think this is possibly justified?
I would say it's possibly justified, and possibly
possibly a bit of
also
paranoia.
I think it's a bit of both, but I think it really makes sense to have a sticker on there. I mean, if you think about if something goes wrong, what the consequences are, you'd rather want to have a sticker on there. Just in case.
Or you remove the webcam in its entirety.
Right.
So you've got the bezel at the top is significantly thinner because you haven't got the webcam in it. But and this is the unveil the USB webcam.
There we go. This, which we call the GC21. So we did some surveys, and we found out that most people don't use the built-in webcam, and we found that if they use the webcam and they do care about the webcam, they're not using the built-in webcam anyways.
Right.
So they're using external webcam.
Move these shiny bits. Actually, I say move these shiny bits. They're matte black, of course, aren't they? So USB cable. Regular micro USB and Type A, and here we have this little that's a little stand for the webcam. Here we have the webcam.
So we developed our own custom, super compact, lightweight, portable external webcam that you can clip on to anywhere on the laptop, or have it on a stand, on a shelf, or connect it to your monitor as well.
So here we have USB connection on the back, and here we have webcam with microphones.
Correct, 2 microphones.
Okay, and attach.
Right. So you can just
literally
clip
like
it on
that.
Like this. There you go.
So you can either take the view which is that you are so desperate to make the bezel that little bit thinner, you took the webcam out in the larger model, or a lot of people don't use the webcam because it's not that great 720p. They want a proper webcam or no webcam. They buy an accessory webcam. Asus now supplies this in the package, USB, and if you've got the paranoia thing going around about video and audio, the NSA, that sort of thing, you simply don't connect the webcam. Also, in conversation, because I'm not clear in my own mind about the paranoia, I asked the question to you earlier whether you could possibly have either webcam, audio, one or both active without the little warning light telling you so, and the answer is depending, but yeah, it's possible. They can be active without the light on. I've heard from other people that it's all or nothing. The circuit is one thing, but no. And the answer is because if you have the LED in the same circuit, that introduces noise. So it makes sense to have the activity LED separate. So, and I don't want to keep doing the paranoia thing, but that looks like Asus forgot. but they didn't. There is actually thinking behind it. So that's the webcam. And honestly, that conversation went on for ages.
Yeah, conspiracy theories, right? Yeah. So another cool thing about this is regular webcams are always 720p 30 fps. This one is 1080p 60 fps, so it's a really nice webcam as well.
Okay.
And so we thought, instead of, on one hand we removed the webcam because we go for all slim bezel, and having a camera at a bad location right here.
Yep. This is the ones on the deck which are looking up your nostrils, the
Right.
worst Skype experience in the world ever. Yeah.
So instead of doing that, we thought, okay, then let's just remove the webcam entirely, but we do provide an option, and it's not just an option, it's a really nice option.
Okay.
And it comes bundled with the
Right.
Zephyrus S GX701.
We've got a number of topics of conversation here. We were discussing Wi-Fi, weren't we?
Yes,
Wi-Fi antenna in particular.
correct. So a new feature on the Zephyrus S GX701 is it also has Wi-Fi range boost now. So it has 4 Wi-Fi antennas. We're the only ones doing it in the industry. Work together with Intel on creating this. Only 2 antennas can be active at the same time. That's what all the Wi-Fi chips can do right now. But what we're doing is we're dynamically checking which Wi-Fi antenna has the best signal.
So that's 4 antennae. Where are they in this particular chassis?
So as far as I know, there's 2 at the top and then 2 below the screen right here. So
Okay.
depending on the orientation of the laptop and where the Wi-Fi signals bounce off of the wall,
Right.
you'll have better signal on this one, this one, this one, or this one.
And we've got B-roll of the chassis components because they're aluminium, and you have to have windows in the aluminium for the Wi-Fi to work, which is where you can actually see where the Wi-Fi antenna actually sit.
Another improvement is you can see there's much bigger speaker grills, and behind those grills obviously hide speakers as well. So the speakers are much more powerful than in the GX5 Zephyrus S, 15-inch Zephyrus S as well. And for this one, we have Optimus for longer battery life. In this one, we have our custom GPU switch technology, which enables us to have G-Sync and Optimus both at the same time. Well,
Again, another point of discussion. So take it back to the basics. Optimus is what?
okay, Optimus basically means you route your NVIDIA GPU to your Intel iGPU, which then sends the signal to the display. So that means whenever your NVIDIA GPU is not active, you don't need it, it can go to sleep mode and completely power off and save battery life. So when you're just browsing the web or you're just on the desktop, then NVIDIA GPU can just power down and you can save battery life.
And that's dead straightforward and easy to do, isn't it? Any fool can do that. There's no complications whatsoever.
Correct.
He says so. No,
The only drawback is...
no, it's not that straightforward. Again, another 10-minute conversation. The GPUs communicate with the screen in a different manner. So what is it the GPU has to do when it's communicating with the screen?
So obviously it has to send a display signal, output signal that you can see, all the frames you see on the panel, but it also has to regulate the backlight of the panel. And everybody does that a little bit different. So the Intel integrated graphics does it different than the NVIDIA DGPU, for example. So the advantage of Optimus is you can have longer battery life and you can start on the NVIDIA GPU when you need it. And the advantage of G-Sync is your NVIDIA GPU is directly connected to the panel, so the panel and the GPU can sync. So,
and does an Intel GPU do G-Sync? That's the fundamental question.
Right, and Intel GPU does not do
Right,
G-Sync. So,
and therefore it all goes to pieces when you've got the combination of Optimus and G-Sync and Intel graphics. So what's the answer?
So the answer is we developed a GPU switch technology, which lets you either route the display signal from the NVIDIA GPU to the Intel iGPU in an Optimus configuration, so you can have longer battery life when the NVIDIA GPU is not needed, when you're not playing games. And we also have an option to directly switch the display signal from the NVIDIA GPU to the panel to enable G-Sync. So that means when you're playing game, you're stationary, you can switch to G-Sync mode, and you have G-Sync. And when you need longer battery life, you can switch to Optimus mode.
And going back to the business about the communication between the GPU, the different GPUs and the panel, that's the reason why you can't simply have a switch like an HDMI switcher on the board.
Right.
You have to have some mechanism, and that takes up space. There ain't no space, so you have to go down the route you've gone down,
Right.
which means there's a restart involved.
Yes, correct. So you have to restart the system to switch from G-Sync mode to Optimus mode.
Options of panels.
Right. So, fastest gaming laptop panel in the world, best gaming laptop panel in the world, 144 Hz AHVA IPS panel with 3 milliseconds thanks to our overdrive technology. So you get a really sharp, low response time, a really sharp image. And with this one, you even get G-Sync on top of that. And there's an option for an HDR panel with dynamic backlight zones. So there's going to be several zones.
So HDR, high dynamic range, which you can kind of spoof by doing 10-bit color rather than 8-bit, and by doing bigger brightness, more brightness. So push the brightness towards 500 CD or nits from 300, 350, and you say you now have HDR, and a lot of people would believe that.
Right.
Not hopefully the people that know what they're looking at, but you would possibly believe it. Why do we care about HDR?
Well, HDR allows you to create much more lifelike images.
Right.
So the way our eyes work is the brighter a color is, we perceive it as actually a slightly different color tone. So
Right.
you want the biggest range of brightnesses that you can possibly have. Even if the color is exactly the same, you will perceive it as a different color. So that will help you to display a larger palette of colors, so a bigger gamut of colors, basically.
The illustration that I remember from a few years ago is the thing about if you walk from a dark room out into the sun and it goes poof, because you've suddenly gone from 100 lumens to a million or whatever the figure is of the sun, even though it's all that way. And then your eyes adjust and, oh, I can see again.
Yeah, and so one of the things is there's HDR for when you take pictures on your smartphone. You have HDR mode, which means if you take a picture against a bright light source, everything doesn't just turn into shadows and just a bright sky, but you can still make out contrast. So that's one of the things. You have stronger contrast. And on the other hand, HDR for TVs and for laptops and for gaming desktop monitors as well is you just have 10-bit color and you can reproduce more colors. So part of the HDR spec is you have to have a wider color gamut. So that's going to be 100% Adobe RGB versus, before that you could have a smaller color gamut.
Does HDR have any form of defined standard, or is it still all up in the air?
There are standards are great. Everyone should have one, isn't that something like that?
Well, I think if standards great, we've each got our own, is what it really is. There's as many standards, 10 people, 20 standards. Yeah.
Right. So the standard we're going to use is the HDR 400 standard, so the Vega standard, and that defines all the key aspects, all the key specs you need to know about.
Okay, if you're buying a laptop such as Zephyrus and you're interested in HDR, this is more workstation inclined with a bit of gaming on the side. Any software package off the top of your head that particularly takes advantage of HDR, or is this a technology where the advantage is coming in the future?
Well, you have a growing number of PC titles with HDR support, so those look pretty nice. And again, everybody implements it a little bit different. Some people like the implementation in this game, not in that. So there's a lot of games that use HDR.
Right.
And then obviously Netflix, iTunes, movies, there's a lot of HDR titles available that obviously look pretty nice as well. And then a very cool part about the HDR panel, even if you're not that sold on the HDR effect and you're not that big a fan of HDR, even if you just turn it off entirely, you get a much brighter screen with stronger colors and with higher contrast, and that in itself is a nice upgrade.
The figure is in the territory of 500 lumens versus 300, 350. Okay, right. Yeah. Okay, so we're talking a noticeable extra chunk of brightness.
Right. In nits, it's actually not that much from what I was told, but when I saw the panel side by side, it's a really noticeable difference.
Okay. Another feature you just mentioned is
Type-C charging.
Go for it.
Something that I think is really cool, and actually a lot of people now in Asus HQ are requesting to have these as their work laptops because it's so convenient to be able to charge over Type-C. Now, obviously, if you have a powerful Nvidia GPU or any powerful GPU in there, you need a lot of power.
Right.
Obviously, powerful, and you need a big power adapter. So 230 watts, 280 watts, something like that. Those are big and heavy. But when you're not playing games, you really don't need such a big adapter. So over Type-C power charging, you can only go up to 99 watts.
Okay.
Which is not enough to power the whole system. But if you're just in office mode, or you're just browsing the web or doing some light work, you're definitely not going to need all that power. So we now support Type-C power delivery. And not only that, we added our own little custom bits to it, so you can use any old phone charger.
Do you supply your own Type-C charger with the laptop?
That's not decided.
Because I've got a Type-C charger over there for my own Nexus. Pixel 2. Yeah. So my Pixel 2 charger.
How many watts is it? Do you know? 18?
I've absolutely no idea. Let's do one moment. Let's do this live. Let's find out.
Yeah. Let me turn it on. You will cut to.
Oh, actually.
Oh, wait, this one is the 1070 version of the current generation, so this one I think does not support Type-C charging. But
actually, this is just a straightforward adapter. This is mains plugged to USB and then a USB cable with the Type-C. I'll find out. It's cheap Amazon stuff. I don't think it's even got
700 milliamps. Oh, that's really not the. Oh, that's
terrible. That's phone, isn't
Yeah.
it? So that's hopeless. I've got a really rubbish
It's
charger.
like less than 5 watts.
It's good
Yeah.
maths. That's good maths.
Yeah.
So it's nowhere near 99 watts. Utterly
not,
hopeless.
Not high precision, but
No,
it's
no,
less
no,
than
no,
5
no,
watts.
yeah, yeah.
So that's
Utterly hopeless. Right. Okay, so that was a live on air condemnation of my cheap and rubbish charger. Okay. Well, having said that, then my suggestion is that if my junk charger ain't going to do the job, then the good thing is for Asus to include a charger in the box. That's my bid for it. So thank you very much. I've learned that my charger is rubbish. We can power the laptop, but that's just for general desktop duties on the IGP,
Yep.
not the Nvidia graphics, obviously.
correct. And what I can tell you is that charger is probably still going to work. It's just
Right.
going to charge really slowly.
Right.
So
Okay.
since it's less than 5 watts. But for example, there's a 50 watt hour battery in here.
Right.
Let's say you completely run out of battery.
Yep.
You have no place to charge.
Yep.
You're out in the wild somewhere.
Yep.
You can still use that charger overnight. And
Okay.
after 10 hours, you'll have full charge.
Okie dokie, so that'd be a painful experience, but it would get you out of jail. Right, and if you took a battery bank, a standard...
Yeah. You can use a battery bank as well. If you have a battery bank with power delivery, which means higher voltage, higher
Yep.
current, it's obviously better.
Yep.
But you can use battery banks as well, even standard ones. And the cool thing about the Type-C charging is you can bring... Most phones now have like an 80 watt charger or 10 watt charger. So those chargers are going to be enough to keep your system running in idle,
Yeah.
or it's going to drain your battery still, but very, very, very slightly. So you can basically
Okie dokie.
have like 20-hour long sessions with the laptop.
Okay, so my charger is rubbish. Cables, does it matter what cable you have, or is any USB-C cable going to do the job?
Any USB cable should be fine.
Okay, because if
yeah.
we're just delivering power, not doing data transfer, anything like that.
Right, so what happens
Okay.
is when you have PD,
Yeah.
it's going to connect and talk to the laptop and then scale up the voltage,
Right.
depending on which cable you have and which charger you have. And if you
Okay.
have a regular cable or charger, it's just going to be 5 volts and then maybe 1 amp or 2 amps,
Right.
which is going to be pretty slow.
Yeah.
But if you have a more powerful charger, like quick charge or something like that, it will be able, or power delivery, it will be able to scale up the voltage up to 20 volts
Right.
and up to 5 amps. So then you can have much higher charging. Although our implementation limits it to 65 watts right now. But that's
Okay.
really plenty. Like 65 watts, you have to be already pushing the system a little bit to get to 65 watts if you're not playing games.
Okay, so 99 watts is like some theoretical maximum figure that is...
Of the Type-C PD spec, the
Right.
highest one that you can get is 99 watts.
Okay, but you're talking about using 60 up to 65
Right,
watts.
right.
Okay, and then if you start wanting to use the graphics properly, forget about it. It's different league.
Most are using around 68 watts.
Okay.
I'm not sure the iPad Pro that you're using, that charger is also Type-C, right?
Yeah, but it's something like rated at 15 watts or some such.
Only 15?
Yeah, because
Oh, okay.
it's the A12X chip. It really
Yeah.
is a different conversation we had off camera.
Yeah.
iPad Pro, which is just this remarkable device that runs on the A12X chip, USB Type-C, but the charger, the juice, it's cool to the touch. It takes no power. I mean, that's the acid test, isn't it? If the thing is passively cooled and it's cold to the touch, it's taking no power. That's why there's no heat. And that thing, I think the charger, I think is rated 14 or 15 watts.
Yeah, with that charger, for
Yeah.
example, if you would plug that in Type-C into this laptop,
Yeah.
you could probably have the laptop in idle for forever.
Yeah.
And it would not. Never
But you want to
drain
charge
battery.
the battery, it's going to take you a good long while, like overnight.
Right. Well, if the system is running in idle,
No,
it will
if
probably
it's off.
the battery's going to be. Yeah, when you turn it off, it will probably take you just 4 hours, maybe 5. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually reasonable, right?
Who knew there's so much to say about USB Type-C battery
Yeah,
charging?
finally there's like a really interesting use case for Type-C.
Fabulous. And my phone charger is rubbish, and the iPad Pro charger is not really up to the job either.
But it's really lightweight, right? It's
Yeah.
really lightweight and small,
Yeah.
and it's enough to keep your system running forever. So if
Okay.
you go out about and have to give a presentation or something, you can have that charger with you in your pocket.
Okay.
You plug it in, and you're not going to run out of battery. Let's start with the G703.
Right. This is not thin and light. This weighs 4 kilos?
4.7.
Okay. And what do we want to know about this?
Well, this is again for reference, and the key part is obviously we have different categories of laptops,
Sure.
with different segments. We have the slimmest gaming laptops in the world. We also have some mainstream, all-around gaming laptops, and we also have the most powerful gaming laptop in the world.
Now, just to the name, we were talking earlier about your user surveys when you contact people who have bought your laptops to
Right.
communicate how they actually use the laptops, as in paying customers, not wish lists, actual paying customers.
Yeah.
What percentage of people who buy this laptop use it on their lap as a laptop?
The exact percentage I can't recall, but it's close to 0. So
Right.
very
So
low.
therefore, nominally a laptop. It's a clamshell design.
Just a laptop in name.
But
Yeah.
right. So that's the traditional laptop that, I mean, we're not used to it, but we've reviewed a couple of models like this. But basically, that packs what graphics?
A GTX 1080,
So it's a full-on
230 watts.
right, and it's a proper gaming experience and engineering workstation and all the rest of it. And there we go. And this, on the other hand, is what?
This, we call it Mothership.
Right.
And we basically did some surveys and interviews with customers of this model. And we found out they don't actually use it on their lap. They use it on the desk.
So you thought you'd create something that you absolutely cannot use on your lap, not no way, which is this. I'm going to give you a bit of space, actually, because you're going to need some for this.
We thought that we actually focus on what those customers really care about, which is they do want to have the performance and they don't care that much about the weight and the thickness. What they really care about is the ergonomics of it. So they want to have the keyboard at a much more comfortable position, closer to the desk, while this one is pretty high up. And they want
And keyboard on this is at the back near the hinge rather than at the front. So how do you move the keyboard on a laptop away from the screen? And the answer is you're disconnected entirely.
Right. So this is Mothership, and you can see you prop it up like this, push on the top, kickstand comes out, and then you fold out the keyboard like this.
And then
remove the keyboard, fold it together, and you have your keyboard. Oh, I think this is much better for you guys to see. You have the keyboard right in front of the screen.
Right. So this is in Asus speak still a laptop.
Well,
except let's face it, it's got nothing to do. So we need some suggestions, don't we? We need suggestions as to what the heck is this. This is kind of a laptop, but you're never going to use it as a laptop, but you could. This, you can't. You just can't. So this is something else, and I don't know what this is. This is to laptops what the iMac is to a desktop PC, as far as I'm concerned. It's something else. It's familiar, but it's just not. So this keyboard, it has a battery.
Right, it has a built-in battery, 8-hour battery life. When you plug it in, it has pogo pins here. It charges and connects automatically, so it's in connected mode. It has a Type-C port here as well, so you can have it wired even when it's far away.
So if the battery and the keyboard goes flat, you can still use it at a distance.
And no matter how you connect it with the pogo pins or with Type-C, it's going to charge up immediately. And once you disconnect it, it's in wireless mode, 2.4 gigahertz, ultra low latency, and you can have the keyboard anywhere you want.
And can we talk about the bezel around the screen, or is this all secret stuff for the time being?
Well, I can tell you there's a reason why the bezels are not super slim, because the panel that's going to be in there requires a bigger bezel, and it's worth it.
Now, I've been told that now, that's the third time I've heard that statement, and I'm still not quite sure what it means. It obviously means there's something coming in the way of screen technology. I do not know what it means. If you've got a bright idea, comment below, let me know, please, because I am genuinely in the dark.
Right, and then on top you see that we have an IR camera, so you have face unlock by Windows Hello. You don't need to type in a password. Just unlocks right away.
Excellent. Going back to the paranoia thing about the previous, so this one is going to spy on you constantly, and that's just it's listening, it's watching.
You can actually see when it's on.
Right.
You can slightly see the IR LEDs when they're on, so there's a hint that you know when they're on. So that will help you.
Fills you with confidence. And the kickstand at the back, the angle can be adjusted. Is it just one other position, or is it stepless?
It's stepless.
Okay,
you can adjust it to whatever you feel like. And the key point obviously is this is notably slimmer. It's around 15 millimeters slimmer than this.
Right.
The whole chassis is made out of CNC aluminum, every single piece, including every part of the keyboard assembly. And you still have the same performance as you have in there. So you have a full high-end graphics solution, full performance, and a full Core i9 with full performance, 1650 Cinebench, something thereabouts, maybe more, depending on the CPU generation that's in there.
Now we've got some components, we've got cooling components and such like, so we can give an indication of what's going on inside this. Because of the orientation, you've got better airflow. You're way away from the business of the laptop with the slot at the back flowing a bit of air. I mean, the back is available for airflow. You've got this. Did we decide it's a ROG logo machined into it, or have we got something else going on?
Yeah, our designers have some Easter eggs in the different CNC pieces. So down here and also in the back, there's ROG, Republic of Gamers, and some other bits and pieces hidden in there.
And this is going to be announced at CES, shown at CES. What exactly is the timeline for it?
Yes, it's going to be announced at CES, and we'll have more details about it, and also probably the panel at that time point.
Right, so first quarter of next year, first half of next year, any indications?
Yeah, for the availability and the pricing and which configuration option is going to be available in which country, we'll have that probably in under the description of this video, in the description of this video.
Oh yes,
So
of course,
we'll have the
we've actually got
details
some
later.
weeks to work on it, so
Yeah.
we've actually got times to drag some details out of Asus.
That's a future Sascha problem, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so...
One more thing?
Yes, one
Yeah.
more thing. I knew there's something else.
So this one has Wi-Fi range boost as well.
Right.
So 4 Wi-Fi antennas, and we switch on the 2 that have the best signal. It has 64 GB DDR4, 2800 as well, 4 memory slots. And
Is that 64 or up to 64?
Probably it's going to be 64.
Okay.
There might be configurations of only 32, but
Right.
probably I think it's going to be 64 as a default configuration, because this is a really high-end system
Right.
with the whole system CNC'd. It's going to be the first laptop with AX, Wi-Fi AX.
If we're calling it a laptop.
Right.
Right.
If it's a laptop, so let us know what you think we should call it. And it's also going to be 2.5G
Ethernet. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So, and that does that lean towards the workstation side of things, or is there some other reason for having 2.5G or even 5G or 10G?
Well, I think now for Black Friday there was a promotion in the US that you could get 1 gigabit fiber for a monthly fee of, I don't remember exactly, but it was ridiculously low, like $30 or something, unlimited
Okay.
data. So it's getting to the point where fiber, 1 gigabit internet is becoming affordable and somewhat widespread depending on where you live.
I was going to say, which part of the USA was that then? Because there's no way that's across the entire USA.
Not the entire, so that was probably West Coast. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, East Coast.
Yeah. Great.
On the edges.
So 2.5G if you live in San Francisco. The Californians, they're always complaining about broadband out there,
Yeah.
actually. So
Yeah.
I wonder
But
what
the
else.
idea is also that this system is ready for it already. Maybe you don't have it right now,
Right.
but within the next few years, you might be able to get it. So then you won't have to use like some clunky external solution over Thunderbolt. You know, you have it built in already.
Excellent. Right, so that is new Zephyrus. This is your traditional chunky laptop, and this is the mothership.
Correct.
And we're going to be having announcements at CES, which is when this video is going to go live, along with facts, figures, information, pricing, full specs, and everything else.
And some
Possibly,
nifty
or some
pictures.
nifty pictures,
Yeah.
and some B-roll showing the funky aluminium parts that make up the mothership, and that's all good stuff. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, I'm not sure you should give it a thumbs down. Don't give it a thumbs down. Ignore the thumbs down. Subscribe. You get told about new videos as they become available. I'm Leo Walder for KitGuru. This is
Sascha from Asus ROG.